Alright, hi everybody. I wanted to make a showcase video of my Ottoman skirmish force. Basically complete. The only thing left is the command unit of the commander and the standard bearer and the musician. But I was just kind of excited that I had all the units done finally, so I wanted to show you guys. I think it looks really good. And so I'll show you guys the units, and I'll talk about a little bit about my philosophy for building this army. So these are from the by Fire and Sword range, made by Wargamer Poland, which is a really nice company. They make a lot of excellent miniatures. And I bought a skirmish set, Ottoman skirmish set from them, which has all the cavalry you see here. And then I got a pack of the Sekban, so like the Mercenary infantry. And my goal was to create something flexible in a 15mm Ottoman kind of basic force that I could use to represent a fairly typical provincial garrison that you would have seen from like the late 16th into the 17th century. The by Fire and Sword range is generally meant for later 17th century, but for their Ottoman figures, you could use them for both 16th and 17th centuries, I think. And as I mentioned on earlier videos about building Ottoman wargaming armies, it's more about the kind of the proportion of different units rather than what they necessarily look like or who's present. So I found doing this project that I really liked painting 15mm more. My earlier 15mm projects were Flames of War, which I do like Battlefront miniatures, but I think when I painted those in the past, I was trying to paint them like 28mm and taking maybe a little too much time in the details instead of with these guys. I went ahead and tried to paint a little more quickly and understand that, not every detail is totally necessary as much as it is on a 28mm figure. So the units we have, if you haven't seen the other videos, or just to refresh, so we've got the front line here. These would be Provincial cavalry called Spahi, and they have a mix of male and just regular coats, cloth coats, and we have 2 units armed with swords, and these figures, the horses are sculpted with pistols, which by the 17th century you would have seen Ottoman cavalry using pistols more often. In the 16th century, not so much, but at 15mm, that's more a question of what kind of rules you're using. The middle here, we've got more Spahi, but they have lances. Now, the one thing that I maybe should have done is to clip the lances down a little bit, because most Ottoman lances that I've seen, either in the Ottoman miniature paintings, which is, sorry, a little confusing terminology, but these are kind of the paintings that go in Ottoman manuscripts. The lances are drawn a lot shorter than a European lance. These are kind of more, these are like wire lances, wire spears you get in a lot of wargaming stuff, that can be used as spears for ancients, or pikes for, pikemen, kind of more in this period. But these are a little long. but that's okay. I mean, it's their miniatures. It's a representation. But just to talk a little bit about the actual pikes that they carried, they were a little shorter than like a European knight's lance that we think of, or even, I think, even probably shorter than like a Polish hussar's lance, which were winged hussar's lance, which were a little heavier, um, and because they were kind of more the heavy shock cavalry. Ottoman lances were a little lighter. Um, and the one thing I didn't include on these guys is there's a pack of shields that came with the set. I didn't glue the shields on. I was worried about them like falling off and not being able to glue them quite well. So I think later I'll go back in and add the shields. It's not a total deal breaker, but I just kind of wanted to finish the project instead of, you know, getting too sidetracked and trying to make everything absolutely perfect. Because my goal on the channel and one of my wargaming policies, I guess, is to focus more on getting a painted army on the table, less so on, you know, getting every single figure individually perfect, because that's not what these, we're here to play games with armies and not to paint every single miniature to a professional level. Anyway, so there we have the ones with lances, and you know, Ottoman cavalry would have had a few different weapons. So quite often you would see a cavalryman with a lance, bow and arrows, and also a sword. And these guys are sculpted with a sword as like their backup weapon. So you have a curved, you know, saber or yataghan. But the way the Ottoman provincial cavalry worked is kind of like you know, it's feudal sort of. So everyone had to bring their own equipment. So that's why, you know, you could have troops with no armor, and each kind of the feudal landholder would bring a retinue of men with him. So you know, you would have kind of a mix, which is why for these guys it was kind of expensive to go to war. And you know, if you didn't bring back any loot, you know, it wasn't really worth your while, which is an interesting subject in Ottoman history. But that's maybe a video for another time, or something you could look up if you're curious. These are more of the provincial cavalry with swords, and like I said, we've got a mix. We've got some with mail and some with just clothing. And I'm actually wondering, looking at these guys, if in real life the ones with just their kaftans would have had maybe a mail coat underneath or something. I'm not sure how I would find out about that, but it's something I could look into. Or they might not have worn any kind of armor to be lighter, which was also possible. You also see we've got a few different types of helmets. We've got kind of this ring type helmet, and then we've got sort of more stereotypically Turkish Muslim kind of helmet with the conical top, and then it's got the kind of the it's hard to see, but it's got like the ear flaps on the side, the ear protection on the side. Back here we've got the gunulu. So these would have been light raiding cavalry. They typically fought for no pay, only for loot. So, and they were, you know, gunulu kind of translates to like volunteer, sort of. Literally, I think it means like with heart or something, if I'm remembering my dictionary correctly. But it's just they're volunteer. But as you can see, the way they're sculpted, which is accurate, they've got swords and they've got bows. So these are kind of, you know, what you might think of when you think of like Turkic kind of cavalry of you know, light light troops with bows and swords, you know, kind of going back to the idea of, like, you know, the Parthians, you know, Parthian shot, that, you know, the kind of the swarming capability. But the way I've got the army made, and the way, you know, the box set comes, it's good because it shows you the different roles Ottoman cavalry used, and the cavalry really was the most numerous element of the Ottoman military. You know, Janissaries are there. There's a lot of infantry, of course, but it's really the cavalry. And as you can see, we've got their kind of heavier cavalry, and we've also got light cavalry, and we have another unit of the Gunulu. So for gaming purposes, I mean, I would probably use these guys as having close combat and your ranged attacks, because they've got bows. These guys I would use, you know, these guys I would probably use as like medium cavalry, and these guys more heavy shock cavalry. But you know, that's kind of the fun of historical miniatures. You're not really restricted to one, you know, rule for a unit. You can, you know, mix things up, and use different units for different roles depending on what you're playing. And in the back we have the infantry. So these are sekbon. So these would have been mercenaries hired in the provinces by the regional governor, and they were musketeers. This was really important for the Ottomans, especially in the 17th century. These guys became a lot more dominant than Janissaries, and you could also use these as, like I would, as basically the local troops that are hired for a fortress garrison, which, especially in Hungary, a lot of them would have been from the Balkans. Actually, they would have been spoken a South Slavic language, so not quite, you know, like today we have Croatian and Serbian, so this would have been like kind of the predecessor language to that. Some would have been Muslim, some would have been Christian. Quite interesting. There's been research done on that. But these would have been a pretty dominant infantry unit. And this kind of skirmish force would resemble maybe a provincial unit raised by a local, would be called a Sanjak Bey, which means banner lord. So, you know, like kind of one of the lower levels of military organization in the empire. I guess I'll show the command guys just real quick. They're not done yet. I'm going to finish them soon. It's just I really wanted to make this video and show the figures all together. But this is the command. We've got our commander there. He could be any number of things, really. I mean, he could be lower ranking provincial commander, could be a regional commander. Yeah, any pretty flexible there. And then we've got this is the musician, and then we've got this is the standard bearer. So I think I'm going to try and get these guys done soon, because it's only 3 figures, and, you know, like I said, these 15mm troops are pretty easy to paint. Now, the only thing for now I think I would add to this to make it kind of a representative Ottoman, you know, I don't know, task force, let's say, is some light artillery, and maybe like 1 or 2 more packs of this cavalry. But other than that, it's I think for now it's a nicely it's a good little force for gaming all kinds of scenarios, and I'm looking forward to expanding on this. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the by fire and sword stuff, just because they've got a, you know, they have the bases and the banners and everything all included in one pack, and the spears, which is really nice. Yeah, so I think I'm going to try and keep ordering from them. The only thing is that they have a U.S. shop, and the U.S. shop, it seems like they don't have so much in stock. But maybe when I try to order from them in the U.S., which I'll hopefully be going home soon, I can just send them an email and get that sorted out. But that's down the road. I'm really happy with how this turned out for the most part. The only thing that I'm not really glad with, I used the Vallejo Black Wash, and it's really heavy, and you can probably tell it's gone on quite heavy onto the figures. I mean, I think for the chainmail and stuff, it's done well with the with filling in the kind of the gaps in the armor and bringing out some of the detail. But in the clothing, I think it's a little too dark. But you know, the other washes I have, the colored washes, Vallejo colored washes I have, are not strong enough really to give a lot of definition, especially in these smaller scaled figures. So I just used the black wash, and because without it the figures just looked too, I didn't like how they turned out. I also tried the gray on some of these Sikbon, which maybe you can see, but it didn't quite have the same effect as I liked. And yeah, as you can see, the Vallejo Black Wash is pretty heavy. I mean, maybe it makes them look kind of rough on campaign, I don't know. But you know, I did my best with that. So I don't know if I want to start the Polish stuff yet, because like I said, I have a pretty big move coming up. So I don't know if it would be a good idea to start painting that stuff. Maybe I'll do like one unit of Poles, because I've got because I bought a Polish skirmish set when I was in Warsaw last time, but I also just got a couple packs of cavalry units. Actually, these guys are Lithuanians. So maybe I could just do like either the Petsihortzi or the Mercenary. The Mercenary are interesting because actually their armor was pretty similar to the Ottoman Spahi, so you know, a lot of sharing and borrowing in that part of the world, kind of Eastern Europe. Can't really, probably I'd have to take them out, but very, very similar to Spahi. And they also have, the Polish horses all have pistols, so I'm guessing maybe these guys had pistols as backup weapons. I need to learn Polish so I can research this stuff better, because there's really not a lot in English, other than a couple, I forget the company, Hellion and Company books. Yeah, there was a couple, there's an author that's done a couple studies on Polish-Lithuanian military in English, but other than that, it's all in Polish. So, okay, I mean, this is kind of a long video, but I hope you liked it. I hope you liked learning about a little bit about the Ottoman military. And as a last parting note, I will say that I really like the flags that come with these with Fire and Sword, by Fire and Sword sets. The paper they're printed on is nice quality, and they have some really nice designs. The Polish designs, I'm really excited to show those, because there's some really nice flags, like with the Virgin Mary and stuff. But the Ottoman flags are fantastic too. got few different designs here. So long video today, but I hope you liked it, and I'm glad I was able to do this painting even with everything going on. This is my almost MA thesis, one of the more recent drafts, and I'm completing that soon. It's about I think it's about current version is about 80 or so pages, so a lot of work went into that. So that's also kind of complete, but and in terms of other Ottoman stuff that I wanted to mention, I would like to order some figures from Khorasan Miniatures when I get back to America, because they have really good ranges for the Islamic world, and I'd like to paint them up. I think the Joy of Wargaming has shown some Khorasan fantasy stuff on his channel, and he's and those fantasy figures look nice. So I think the their Middle East and Central Asia stuff will look good as well. Although I think I'm gonna try and see if I can get these bases that come with Fire and Sword by Fire and Sword figures, because they're good size, and it would be nice to just have everything based uniformly. I kind of like having that. So anyway, that's my video for today. I hope you like it, and I hope I can show the command figure soon. And it was, but I was just really excited to make this and show you guys the finished army. So yeah, I'm gonna do one last look, and I will talk to you all in the next video.